Now then, the story today is all about going to Belvoir Castle in 1984 at the request of BBC Television. 1983 and 84 hadn't been very good, and in 1983 we'd lost our house, the business had folded, and we'd ended up in 1984 living at Great Steeping, where we'd managed to buy a small holding, and the house we were living in there was well, the rest of the family called it a bit of a hovel. It was just a room downstairs, and the kitchen was in a lean-to garage. Oh, there was a bathroom. No, there wasn't a bathroom. There was a bathroom upstairs, and upstairs there was 2 bedrooms and a box room and a small bathroom, and that was it. And Ruth and Helen said the animals had better accommodation than we had. We'd moved with our dogs and 2 horses that we'd kept. But the buildings are full of rubbish and muck and everything. We had to clean it all out. Anyway, we're getting away from the story. Okay, so this must be early in the year, because we drove to Belvoir Castle in the snow. It was pretty cold. It was at the request of a chap called Dennis McCarthy, who was a presenter on Radio Nottingham. He was also a well-known dog breeder, and he'd been asked to produce a programme for BBC Two called Working Dogs. And in fact, he'd been to Boston the year before to help raise money for Lynn Ellis and her campaign to raise money for a scanner at Pilgrim Hospital. And so she'd actually had him go to help her to get all these folks together on, I think it was some Leverton Marsh or somewhere like that, and to raise this money. It was all to do with horses and things. So we were there with a horse, and Ruth rode side saddle. And so Dennis had met us, and he'd met our dog. That was Dinon the Dalmatian. At the end of this story, you can see how to download the picture storybook about the life of Dinon the Dalmatian working carriage dog, which is quite unique. It's a nice book and there's lots of pictures in it. Right, to go back to the story. So Dennis and the BBC had asked us to go to Belvoir Castle to help to film this working dogs. So we had to explain to Dennis that Dinon was a working dog, and naturally he was a working dog. He'd been to umpteen weddings over the years guarding the carriage, so he was a guard dog. And consequently he didn't like other dogs anywhere near his horse-drawn vehicles. So if we were taking him with a horse-drawn vehicle anywhere, it was likely other dogs would get mangled. So it's a traditional working task of a Dalmatian. So Dennis got us to go after lunch, and he'd finished filming all the other dogs that were in the programme in the morning. We drove up to Belvoir Castle in the snow, and we were invited to lunch. It was very nice. The BBC don't pay you anything, you know, but they would pay us expenses to get there. Thereby is a little bit more to the story. It's a long story. You can read about this in one of the It's Rum Life books. We'll give you the link later on, the whole story. You can also read the story about Dinon the Dalmatian on our Buzzsprout. There's a downloadable audio story. But we're just going to concentrate on a little bit of this story. I'm going to try and stop banging the table where the microphone is, because it makes all these banging noises. So we had this little Threatened-a-Bit cab, FG BMC lorry with a horsebox body, very second-hand. It didn't look much, but it was functional. And we towed a trailer behind it with the carriages on, and this is what we used to go to the weddings up and down Lincolnshire, to be providing part of our income, particularly after we'd lost our house and we hadn't got a regular job. I hadn't got a regular job. Ruth was still nursing. So we went off to Belvoir Castle quite early. We had to be there for just lunchtime. And we took 2 carriages. One was the Broom carriage, an enclosed gentleman's town carriage. And the other one was a Lincolnshire market cart built in Spilsby. in about 1908. Quite original. Both of them were original vehicles. You know, they were just as they were, except I think it was afterwards that carriage had the nasty accident at Wibberton Church, where we destroyed the church gatepost. You can see that in another story. Right, we're on our journey with a horse, Dalmatian dog, Ruth and myself. Dalmatian dog's in the cab with us because he insisted on that, and Juno, the Dale's pony, in the back. Juno was getting on, and you know, she'd passed her best, but she was still good at her job as a carriage horse. Her son Jupiter was a young tearaway, and as members of the Lincolnshire branch of the British Driving Society, new to their cost, Jupiter was a bit of a devil, so we didn't take him. We wanted something something more calm if we're going to be filming for BBC. We had to stop in Sleaford. In those days there wasn't a Sleaford bypass. You went through the town if you're going anywhere, so we'd poddled off into Sleaford, and we got to the railway crossing near the station where the train goes across the road. And if you cross the railway lines, and the roads branch off, and if you branch off to the right you go to Grantham. Well, that's where we were going, through Grantham to Belvoir on the way to Nottingham. So we were stood at the railway crossing waiting for the train to go, trundling past to Boston or wherever it was going. And we'd pulled off then, and we were going down the road to Grantham. It's a lovely, nice, wide road with trees and things. And the police car passed us and stopped us. It was a Panda. And the policeman came up to us and he said, you need an HGV licence for this, you know. And I said, yeah, I know, I've got one. So that stopped him in his tracks. I mean, it did look a bit of a gypsy fairground kind of setup. We didn't have much money, you know. We just lost a house and everything, and we were living on a shoestring. And so this little lorry was all we could cope with, all we could manage to get. And the trailer was something I'd built. Actually, Terry Pine built it for me. Terry, the engineer from New Bolingbroke, he built this trailer. It's a single axle trailer. It would carry more or less anything. And we put two carriages on it, had a winch, and it got ramps and everything. So, and this day we got two vehicles on the trailer, quite a long trailer, hanging on behind this little horse box. There was the lovely broom carriage, and then fastened behind that was the market cart. So the whole thing looked quite fairgroundish. Well, the policeman really couldn't think about anything else to say, really. I said, if it's all right with you, and we need to get on. We're supposed to be meeting the BBC at Belvoir Castle to do a film for BBC Two. And he had to look up and down the vehicle, and basically it was legal. It was tested. It had insurance. The tyres are okay. It had lights that worked. Even trailer lights worked. So he beat it off. And we duly went off up to Belvoir Castle and did our filming. I had a nice lunch and everything, and met the director, and we did say it was good. I had some pictures coming up on that. But afterwards I thought, wow, I wonder if the BBC would have paid our expenses if that policeman had really known his road traffic law with regard to the construction and use regulations. Because I didn't tell him that I also hold a transport manager's licence for UK operation of HGVs. Because having the business we'd had, then it's something I had to have, being in charge of it. Then, you know, I knew the construction and use regulations, which are the regulations regarding the design and operation of goods vehicles, more like heavy goods vehicles, what they can do and what they can't do. So I knew that I was breaking these regulations with this little FG lorry, which wasn't designed to pull a trailer at all, any sort of trailer. It hadn't got any weight markings painted on the lorry. It hadn't got any designated, markings or telling you what what gross vehicle weight and everything it was anywhere on it. I mean, it was only used for private. It wasn't a commercial vehicle for hire and reward. It was just our own little horse box for use. Well, I suppose it was in business really, because we went and did weddings with it. But anyway, the trailer was legal with regard to brakes and lights and everything, but it shouldn't have been fastened to the back of that lorry. Yeah, I needed an HGV licence because the two together brought the thing above 7.5 tonnes gross vehicle weight. That's lorry and load, which was the maximum at that time that you could drive on a car licence. A small lorry, so it is above that. And then you've got the thing that it got 3 axles, so it gets pretty complicated. But if this chap had actually known more about it, he could have locked us up and thrown away the key, because I don't know, we must have broken at least 4 regulations. But it looked all right and it worked, and he wasn't any the wiser, fortunately. But if he had and prosecuted us, it might have cost a bob or two, more beyond our means. So I just thanked goodness that the BBC didn't have to foot that bill as well. But there we are. It's just one of those things, a bit of luck on the way, and you need a bit of luck now again. Life's no good without a bit of luck. So you can read more about this story on one of our It's a Rum Life books, link coming up. You can listen to the story in full. I mean, I'm only giving you a little bit of it just to make it more interesting, so it's like this is one of the highlights of that story. The bit where you get butterflies in the stomach and think, oh my gosh, are we going to get there, or is he going to hold us up and give us a whole lot of paperwork to do? I didn't even ask for our documents. We hadn't got documents. I did have my licence, so I think I had to look at that. So you can read it on a Buzzsprout audio, you can look at it in the book, and do have a look at Dinon the Dalmatian Carriage Dog, because at this particular time he was the only carriage dog in the UK working for his living. There were others, and the book tells you all about that. Lots and lots of pictures in it. It's a really good book, and it's not good for kids too. So have a look at the links, and if you'd like to download it, it's all free to do. You can download it to anything you like and read it and watch it and everything else. So thank you for being with us, and I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a story. And until the next time, oh yeah, like and subscribe. Yeah, please. If you like the YouTube site, give us a like. Subscribe to the channel. It makes the channel grow, and that's good for YouTube. It helps us enormously. So thanks for being with us, and until the next time, cheerio.